Stealing is a dangerous trend that has emerged in recent years. It's the non-consensual removal of a condom during sex. Many rights advocates say that according to South African law, it's tantamount to rape. Others disagree. Tekano Health Equity CEO and health activist Lebo Ramafoko speaks to us now. Thank you very much, Ms. Ramafoko, for your time. Explain to us exactly what stealing is and why some activists are calling for it to actually constitute as rape.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And let me also say that I endorse the views that it is rape because rape defines any act that is non-consensual. So if you are having sex with somebody, they consented to sex and they consented to sex with a condom. At any point in time when you remove the condom, when you pierce the condom, you have violated that consent. So I think first and foremost is to understand that consent is not global, in a sense that you can't even use the argument that we were in bed together, we agreed on having sex, therefore, when I remove the condom, you had consented to that. If we engage in a sexual act and we had agreed on a condom, if there is any removal of a condom, it has to also be consented to. So you need to ask me whether or not I would like you to remove the condom. So in this case, you are talking about somebody who willfully violates the consent that they received for sex. And they are treating this consent as blanket. They are treating the consent that the minute you consent to having sex with somebody, you are consenting to any act, every act, no matter what it is. And as you can hear by the definition, it is when somebody unknowingly, and if somebody does something unknowingly, it's similar to when you have sex with a person who couldn't have consented to sex because they are either drugged or they are too drunk. You cannot say there was consent. And it is for that same reason that therefore, when you remove a condom without the other person knowing, then you violate, the consent becomes null and void. And for that reason, it is constituted as rape because you've then conducted or participated in an act where there was no consent for that act to take place.
Lebo, it also brings along some other things that probably the woman or the person that this act was done upon or the wrongdoing was done upon, a lot of other problems, because people use condoms because they want to protect themselves from STI. You use condoms because you want to protect yourself from HIV. You use a condom probably because you don't want to fall pregnant.
Yes, that is correct. And I think that is what even makes this act, quite dangerous, and where the intention of the person who removes the condom is basically so suspect, and why it should be treated as a criminal, that you have committed a crime, or a criminal act. Because at that time, when I say to you, I'm going to have sex with you under these conditions, I could also be HIV positive at a time that I have sex with you. I may not have told you that I'm HIV positive when I have sex with you. I may have only said to you, I want us to use a condom. But also, as you rightfully said, there are so many implications when somebody willfully removes a condom, or even if they did not do it willfully, they recognize that the condom for whatever reason may have slipped out, and they continue without saying, hang on, this is not what we agreed to. And I think what it speaks to is to challenge the patriarchal norm that says when a woman, either you've bought them a drink, or a woman is in your room, or a woman is naked, it gives you free reign for everything. We need to start communicating. And that is why I support those who call it rape, that you can even withdraw consent, even after you had agreed, even just before penetration, even when penetration has taken place, to say, I do not feel like doing this. So that will make us understand that there is no way just because a person said, I will have sex with you, and you have both agreed and consented on using a condom, they can remove it and not think anything of that act. We need to take away And I think that is how, in a patriarchal society, we socialize men, that sex has to involve tricks. And the way in which you can trick a woman, tell them this when you mean that, do this when you mean that in fact, if you did not get explicit consent, which can be withdrawn at any point in time, you therefore did not get consent to remove a condom, even if a person had agreed to have sex with you.
Lebo, I just want to talk about also the importance of teaching children from a young age, both boys and girls, about how important consent is, number one. But also the fact that a lot of people think that rape is only when somebody is penetrated, not wanting any penetration. But it goes deeper than that.
It does go deeper, and it's interesting that you talk about teaching children. In a lot of ways, adults do not even understand what consent is, so, and I started there because a lot of the people who are socializing young people are older people who also have a lot to unlearn. So a lot of our sexual cues and social, sexual norms right now, when we revisit them and we look at certain behaviors, I'm sure all of us can say we have been raped because there has been coercion of one way or the other, or one form of the other in our sexual experiences. But again, when you talk to children, first and foremost, you need to teach both boys and girls bodily autonomy. And by bodily autonomy, it means that everybody else has the right to control their own bodies. And the fact that you are in a relationship or you like a person does not give them the right to control your body. So no girlfriend or boyfriend owns another person's body. And that is why at that point, whatever act that you do with somebody needs explicit consent. But this conversation cannot happen when we are continuing. And it happens in different settings, including in churches, that in fact the woman's body belongs to a man. Because the minute you remove bodily autonomy from either a man or a woman, whether they are married or not, you are then removing their right to consent. So we need to start by teaching bodily autonomy. But more importantly, adults need to unlearn some of these social cues that within a patriarchal society they are used to as being just normal. This is what men do. This is what women must accept. And I think we must all agree, both men and women, that there is a lot that we need to unlearn and teach young people bodily autonomy and teach women and believe women. Because often what makes people not speak, it's because if I tell you that I met somebody in a bar, I went home with them, I had something to drink, I got into their car, and I say at the end of that sentence, and then they raped me. The fact that we believe that women are not sexual beings and we believe in societal norms that actually treat men and women and their sexual agency very differently. Women, even when stealthing had happened, and that is why even on social media, men will be so brazen, admitting that they had done all sorts of acts to women and claim it as bravado. If we don't believe women and we don't believe in women's bodily autonomy, then if at the end of all these scenarios that I have painted, they say, I have been raped, we know that we are going to say, no, it can't be rape. Because these things have happened. It can be raped even when a woman was stuck naked and they had said yes, and all of you had been aroused, because we are all thinking beings. And even when a man had been aroused and they hear a no at that end, sex should not happen when consent is not given under all circumstances.
All right, thank you so much, Lebo, for your time. I think because we run out of time, I'd like to invite you again to talk about the fact that men are also raped. It's not only women. There's also the LGBTQI community, for instance, who would want to have sexual relations with somebody but also are penetrated and don't want the condom removed. But thank you very much for your time, Tekano Health Equity CEO and health activist Lebo Ramafoko.